in merry measure in a conga line out into the hallway, with Kit Larkin at the front, dusted in glitter, laughing so hard he could barely sing. She watched the standing ovation from her desk, her eyes blurred, her fists bunched in triumph. Kit Larkin. All year she worried about him. There had been the business with the guinea pig, of course. The less said about that, the better. But it was more than that. Each lunchtime he hovered at the edge of the playground, his hands twitching, as if they longed for a ball to catch. When she took the class on a fishing trip to the River Eden, he was the only kid who didn't catch anything. She had given him her own trout, just so he had something in his bucket. In January, Kit's father had come to speak to her. Sergeant Larkin appeared at the classroom door just as she was sinking into the pleasure of Friday evening. Larkin had always been kind to her, kinder than most people in town when it came to non-natives. He had spoken to her on the sidelines of sports pitches, at the lakeside in summer, in places where she did not know how to stand or what to say. She mustered the last smile of the day and waved him in. "Make yourself at home," she said. She realised that the only adult-sized chair was her own, so she ushered him to table Bassenthwaite, to two of the little plastic seats. He was still in uniform. He wore black boots, big as skulls, and she imagined for a moment that his chair would break. The indignity of Larkin, looking up at her from the floor. "Now then," she said, "how can I help?" Justin had been at school with Larkin. He remembered a loner, thin to the sinews, who spent every weekend climbing. He was the last person, Justin said, to become a policeman. Larkin was more likely to shake the criminals' hands and give them directions for the best route around the lake. "A policeman in Stonesmere, though," she said. "It's mostly tourists and cows." Larkin married the first girl who had shown him any interest, as far as Justin knew. She was in the year below at school and barely 5 feet tall. She had worked at the supermarket checkout for as long as Ava could remember, perched on a cushion which she brought in from home. Larkin spent fewer weekends at Borrowdale Valley and more weekends renovating a derelict cottage abandoned on Old Oaks Road. Ava used to see Larkin collecting his wife from the supermarket car park some evenings, his hat brushing the roof of the car and hers hidden below the headrest so that the passenger seat appeared to be empty. Ava heard they were called Little and Large around town. There was speculation about the mechanics of their relationship, jokes that Justin didn't laugh at, but didn't challenge either. Once Little fell ill, the jokes stopped. At the checkout, Little was replaced by a furious woman who quashed any attempt to make conversation and threw customers' items down the conveyor belt. The cushion was gone. Even on a Friday evening, then, Ava would listen. She would do what she could. But Larkin only held out a bunch of skew flowers and nodded. "I wanted to thank you," he said, "for Christmas." After Kit's mother died, the holidays had become a difficult time of year. The previous Christmas, Larkin said, there had been a conflation. The way he said conflation, as if he wasn't sure he had the right word, made her suspect it had come from somebody else. A psychologist, perhaps, or a counsellor. Kit had become convinced that his mother was going to deliver the presents. He had addressed his Christmas wish list to her and insisted on buying a box of Ferrero Rocher, his mother's staple, to leave by the stockings. "It isn't much stranger than the traditional version," Ava said. "The thought of her," Larkin said, "on the sled." He looked out over the school fields. A few errant sheep grazed beneath the football posts. Dusk had drawn over the lake. The hills were textureless and dark. When he looked back, she was braced for tears, but instead he was smiling. The smile